phone about the weather. Yeah. And it
Mm-hmm.
said the fact of the weather, it's 52, but it says it feels like 58. Yeah. So they say the fact of the temperature is like 31, but it feels like it's 44. So, so this is the subjective experience.
Yeah.
The fact is it's 44 or whatever, or 60 or 70, and then you see someone wearing like a tundra jacket because to them it feels like it's 34. This is a subjective experience. That's why in the big book, that's a beautiful word, seeming, when they're describing the hopeless state of mind and body, that is a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. So for some person, they read the temperature of the day 41, but it seems to them it's 53. Yeah. Yeah. So same principle applied to hopeless state of mind or body, or a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. When you're in its grasp, it's a hopeless state of mind and body, which triggers a lot of denial, obviously, and stuff like that. Yes. I mean, you don't deny shit that you don't think is true. You deny shit that you think is true. Yeah. So, so there's this idea of like it's all right today in Novato, it's 54, but it's gonna feel like 63. So, wouldn't you get a sense of something from that? Yeah. So that let's say the hopeless state of mind and body is that, or the seemingly hopeless state of mind and body isn't based on the state of mind and body. It's based on you. Yeah. If you believe it's a hopeless state of mind and body, it's a hopeless state of mind and body. If you believe it's a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, it's a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. You play a huge role in a subjective experience. Yeah. Even though you see yourself as an object in a way, that object, just see it. Some days you think you look good, some days you think you look bad. For people who know you, you just look like Paul. Yeah. Because they don't have so much interest and attention in you. So basically, unless you're really sick or something, they don't notice much. Yes. Yes, this is so
And it's kind of all a translation, isn't it? An interpretation.
of course. And then exactly, and this is what they used to say. This is a disease or of perception. Yeah. So you perceive things as they are to you. You're not really seeing things. Yeah. So the head can contort or mutate in a certain way, and that's how we see someone. Yeah. Or whatever, or something, because there's a glass between us and that which we're seeing. And the problem resides in the head, which is where the meaning and stuff is being uh, hatched out. Yes. So the meaning is coming from an interpretation of events. Maybe all of us are having a similar event. We're outside walking on a sidewalk, let's say, but the experience of that event isn't shared. Yes. The experience is subjective. So some people are rushing down the sidewalk because they have to get somewhere. The other person's looking for the shit that his or her dog did on the neighbor's lawn the day before. There's
Mhm.
all this stuff going on. Uh, and the most important influence is this head's influence in a way. Actually, the most important would be a spiritual influence, if in our terminology. But basically, the head is making a lot of shit up. Yeah, yeah. So, uh, and you're at the effect of that. You're not the cause of it. This is the dilemma. Yeah. something is causing us to see things in a certain way, uh, we're not the cause of it. Yeah. Just look at what happens when you look at a day when you have a flu, and then when you look at a day when you don't have a flu. Yeah. Or a flu doesn't have you. Doesn't life look bleaker when you're sick in most cases?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is, don't forget, it's a subjective event. And there's an agreed on objective reality, but that objective reality, uh, we can outshine the circumstances and situations in our lives instead of being eclipsed by the circumstances and situations in our life. Yeah. There's a lot of room in a subjective experience. There's a lot because it's fickle. We have that thing a lot of people go through in recovery, which is they come in and they have an idea of what was the worst thing that ever happened to them. Yes. Maybe coming into AA or something. So the worst thing that ever happened to them. And then their head changes. Yeah. And then they see it as the best thing that happened to them. That's a perfect illustration of a subjective event. Yeah. When the worst thing can suddenly be seen as the best thing, it actually wasn't the worst thing or the best thing. It was the meaning you gave it. Yeah. And if the
Dexter.
one second, if the underlying condition is mental and or spiritual, the meaning that would be given things would be different. Not you changing, but the basis of you changing. Yeah. So AA, we have gone to an extreme condition of the head giving a lot of meaning to our lives that have made us a harbor of resentment and fear and all this other stuff. And now we're going under a recovery or a transformation, and we're going to be established on a new basis. And they use the terminology new a lot. Yeah. A new freedom and a new happiness, a new outlook and a new whatever attitude. So new has nothing to do with the old. Yes. In a sense. Yeah. So we outgrow stuff and we grow into something else. All the while we're thinking we're the same person, we're outgrowing stuff and growing into other things. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why the day doesn't necessarily make you, you make the day in a sense. Yeah. And so that's an incredible, because some people are in objectively terrible situation. Yeah. Yet a different meaning can be given to that where they'll travel lighter through it. Or they can give it a meaning that will add heaviness to it. Yes. Wow. So, and you can't write this down. This is the moment to moment living. The moment to moment living has an option of being light or heavy. Yes. Yeah. So I feel the program will bring out the light of us, and the head enslaves us with a heaviness. Yeah. If you want to make it like an extreme contrast. And perhaps it is the better way, the trusting the infinite rather than finite self. Yeah. Yeah. So let the infinite do what it wants to do through you instead of having the finite self interpret everything that ever gets done in a certain way. Yeah. I mean, how are you do you really believe uh, when it says, don't shut the door on it, door, or you will not regret the past. It doesn't say don't regret the past. It says you're going to be brought into a condition where you will not regret the past. That to me, that condition is seeing that something did through you what you would have never done by yourself. Just like we say something is doing to through us what we could not do for ourselves, something did through us what we would never have done by ourselves. I don't understand why we can give all glory to the higher power and no accountability to the lower power. I just don't, it seems like such a weird uh because it's actually the same movement, just a different polarity. Yeah, I don't understand why we're completely paralyzed uh, in the lower aspect, the lower power, but yet we seem to be free to have gratitude and honor of the higher power. I don't see why. I do see why, but it's amazing how we are responsible for everything the lower power did through us, but we're not responsible for what the higher power does to us. That doesn't seem like it makes sense, does it? I think there's like it's just it's like it sticks out like a sore thumb, I feel. Yeah. I mean, people can grow into gratitude. They don't seem to be growing into accountability. They keep thinking they did all that shit. And how are you going show me someone who believes they did all that shit and they don't regret it. That's difficult, man. That's a difficult road to hoe, so to speak. Yeah, because there's going to be you may not feel regret right this moment, but at choice moments the head is going to squeeze that lemon. It is, and you're going to have pangs of remorse and guilt and shit like that. I think the only way you can see the sense of not shutting the door on the past or nor regretting it is seeing the clarity about that which has defeated you was what was manifesting its or generating its manifestations, and it's not us. They make it very clear on page 64, self is what has defeated us. Yeah, yeah. And I think self has not been sent the bill of accountability. It just hasn't. It's getting away with fucking murder. Yeah. It has itself written in all your past. So that was a big change in my way of looking through recovery. And that change has never changed. Yeah. That's the interesting thing. Once the other one changed, this one never changed, this view. I do not believe we were the doer of all that shit while we were under the influence. I believe we were truly the driven, not the driver. As it says in the book, I'm not saying anything different. It's how you read the book, yeah? The head will just override or just jump over the driven idea and just keep it pointing that you're the driver. Yes. And it's so weird. It's really like the meeting should be held at a car lot, and all the driven, all us vehicles should get together and talk about the driver. Instead, it was the driven. No, it wasn't. Where's the driver? When did you hear that topic being played in a meeting? Where, come on, old driven, come and sit down. Here's a parking lot for space. You take that space. We'll have a nice space like disabled for the newcomers. They get park in front, and now we're going to have a meeting about the driver. Yeah, and see if you, as a Ford or a Buick or a Toyota, can recognize the singularity of the driver that drove the Buick, the Toyota, and the Oldsmobile to fucking pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization instead of thinking you're a self-driving car. Because literally you are a self-driving car, yet self is not you. Yeah, it's a foreign driver called self that has driven your car to those conditions. Yes, and then la 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 la, the car has a certain app, and it's called a subjective fucking experience. Yeah. And then we have a subjective experience, and then the car is used to manufacture a hell through the subjective app. Yeah. Can you imagine? When you had that first drink, did you choose the second drink? Did you choose? Give me a break. You suddenly had skis and you were going down a slope with no brakes. I'm the driver here. I'm the driver. No, I don't think so. Eh? Oh. Isn't that interesting? The car has an app, a subjective app. When the car does something, it says I did something. Uh, now we got over a lot of that when we get sober. So we're not believing we're the one that got the message through to the other person. We were used to be a conduit to the message. Yes. And that attitude allows us to travel very light. Yeah. Yet that attitude is not being applied to the previous employer. It's not. We're not seeing what it did through us that we would never have done by ourselves. Or we're seeing it, but there's a fucking that website is blocked or something and you can't get to it. Yeah. That's why we do the fourth step. And the fourth step says when you start looking at it, being convinced, self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. It says it. In the process of doing it, you're going to see it. Or, yeah, how have we missed it? It says it right there on page 64. I'm going to give you a chance, Mickey. I'm just on this little rush here.
You're doing great, Paul.
All right, good.
You just keep flowing.
All right, let me just go here. It doesn't say there's weeks or months between the statement. It says, of course, they first present the inventory process as like taking an inventory of a business. Yeah. So you get a little of that personalness out of it so that you can have maybe a more thorough and honest inventory. Yeah. It's sort of like, you know, it's sort of like sending the thief to the scene of the crime. Yeah. When yeah, self's going to do an inventory on itself. So he goes here. We did exactly the same thing with our lives. The business example. We took stock honestly. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup, which caused our failure. Isn't that the beginning of the process? Yeah. Let's say start resentment. The next thing it says right there, being convinced that self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. Bingo. Yeah. Put pen to paper, and what you're going to notice is self manifested in various ways. What are some of the manifestations? I am so lost. Well, we look at three common ones: resentment, fears, and harms done to others in the pursuit of what we want. Yes. And what we're supposed to notice, or seemingly they say you will notice, is being convinced that self manifested in various ways was what had defeated us. We considered its common manifestations. Why are we calling its manifestations ours? Every time you see resentment, it triggers my resentment. No, they're not your resentments. Their resentments are having you. You're not having them. Yes? Do you imagine, oh, I'm going to have coffee with my meal. I want to get a tiramisu, and then a resentment. I want to have a resentment at breakfast today. No, the resentment has you if you really look at it. Yeah? Oh, let me pull out a resentment, a golden oldie. Yes, I haven't gone over this. Oh, my mother didn't give me that bologna sandwich or whatever. This is insane. Yeah. Ah, and what's mostly a resentment? It's remembered. Yeah. Where does remembering occur? In the head. Where does the problem reside? In the head. Yeah. Resentment is is to do again in centeri, I think in Latin is to feel. So re-feel. Yeah. It's not enough that you feel something now. It wants you to re-feel something over and over again. And that is resentment. And how you keep re-feeling it, it's your resentment. If I want to pet the dog and I really love petting dogs, I'll get a dog that I call mine. And then I'll pet that dog. Yes? Resentment, my resentment. Hugely different. Fear, first of all, we're not even clear. Is it fear? It triggers the emotion of fear, but there's no apparent threat. So it's really launched by mental anxiety. And how can something that's not happening affect you right now is through faith. We have faith in the thoughts, and that faith in the thoughts produces an effect now and triggers the emotion of fear with no apparent threat. This is truly a subjective experience. You can scare yourself out of your own wits with no apparent threat. You don't need to go into a haunted house. Your head could be a haunted house. Yes, it is actually. You don't have to go to hell. You can be in hell. Yes? It may be a subjective experience would be great if you are really a subject, but AA sees us as an object. We are the driven. Yeah. Self imposes calamity on us. These things happen. Yeah. So the importance is the trusting finite self or trusting the infinite, because that's at the beginning. Yeah. That is going to be the fuel that is going to be put into the car that we are. Yeah. I feel so. Yeah.
Well, Paul, let's stay with this. Um, isn't that what we call triggers? When when we want to, our head creates something, someone, some occurrence, some situation to blame for my attachment to that occurrence that my head has accused me or induced within me to believe that it's mine.
Well, yes, this is if you look at the Course in Miracles, they talk about a lesson called "We see only the past." What is a resentment? It's a refeeling of something that we felt a while, we remembered of feeling years ago. So basically, we're constantly being triggered by the past, yeah, and refeeling shit. Resentment is to refeel. In other words, feel again and again and again and again. And the head cannot make the same situation occur, but it reads situations to be the same. Yeah. It cannot have you in the same situation that first thing got triggered by, but it it uses every situation to trigger it. Yeah. It doesn't have to have a perfect, it doesn't have to have all the characters, the setting that the first trigger needed. It triggers it with anything. Yes. So you're constantly refeeling or rethinking that you're a loser, or you're not doing enough. Yeah. Now, where do you catch yourself not doing enough? Not much, but your head keeps saying you're not doing enough. Yeah. So
It's all
therefore,
the
triggers.
story that the head's telling.
Yes. It's a tale that has been told thousands of times. Yeah. Yeah. What you need to do is when that thing's telling you a story, grab the fucking book, look at the author page, and you'll see the word self there, not you. Yes? When you're being told another freaking story, just pause, grab it, and just go to the author page and see who wrote the shit. It's not you. Yeah. So we do an inventory for just that. We do an inventory on our life, our business, and we realize we've been selling the product of self. Yeah. All I've got is resentments on this shelf, anxiety on that shelf, regret and remorse on this shelf. My whole life as a business is filled with its products. I'm manufacturing misery. I'm going to pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization. I not only have I hit a bottom, I've moved into a bottom. Yeah. The whole store is just the name Paul Store has no meaning. It's like a franchise of self store, and we are one of the franchise holders. We thinking we're a unique hamburger place. We're another fucking McDonald's. Yeah. They send you the same beef, the same shit, and you do the same thing. Yeah. But when you look at it, it's Paul's story. No, it ain't. Your most my story at the end was just an old run-of-the-mill alcoholic story. That's all it fucking was. What was causing me a lot of trouble is I kept thinking it was Paul's story. And it wasn't Paul's story. It hadn't been Paul's story for quite a while. Yes, this is the dilemma. We have a huge misunderstanding of what's going on. We're trying to get out of something we're actually not in and trying to get into something like a spiritual condition that we're not out of, actually. Yeah. The thing that we're out of, we think we're in, and the thing that we're in, we think we're out of. It's amazing. When you are on a train of thought, when it stops, do you have to walk back to the station? You always find yourself in the station. Yeah. When you go, oh, I was out there for 5 minutes. It's a sudden whack and you haven't gone anywhere. Yes. You think all the trains leave the station, but when you leave the train, you're still at the station. This is the beauty of spiritual condition. Yeah. All your meanderings, you haven't left everywhere. You can't. Yes. You can't get closer to it. You can't get farther to it. What you can do is have the mental state diminish it. So what it says is like the little half inch on its map, which says 50 miles, you'll see it's only like 20 steps. Yes? It's all been bogus. You've been led to believe it's going to be super hard to arrive at where you already are.
It's that old story of wherever I go, here I am.
That's right. But the here I am that you don't want to takes a second to get back there. You never left. What we are never left. Never, never. Yeah. This whole shenanigan hasn't left a mark. There's not a footprint on spirit by all our stampeding and fucking jumping and down. Nothing. There's not a mark at all. Yes. So that's why dance on, brother. Yeah. Fucking, yeah. If that's what you want to do, great. I don't have an interest in that. Great. Yeah. Well, for me to be seemingly where I am, you don't have to be there. I feel you are there, but you don't have to be in agreement with it. You don't. Yeah. This is a beautiful thing when I realized a lot of times you're doing someone a disservice trying to keep them from their bottom. Yeah. Let it go. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, Mickey, do your thing.
I'm going to keep this running. Um, Before that paragraph on 64 that uh we concentrate on when it's describing the business inventory, it says it is an effort to discover the truth about the stock in trade. One object is to disclose damaged or unsellable goods, or for us, untruths,
Yes.
false identity, to get rid of them promptly and without regret.
And how can it be without regret when it's not you?
Exactly.
When it's not you, you will cut it at its knees without regret. You will be honest and thorough without regret. Yes? The blinders are taken off because you finally see that which has defeated you is other than you. And then that clarity that was being disturbed or disguised now sees clearly what you're not. You tell the truth about it, yes. Then when it appears in your life, you bring it to step 6 and 7. If it gets away with something, you use 8 and 9. Yeah. You continue to take inventory until you don't, and then you just start noticing it, and then you notice it before you need to notice it. Yeah. And then basically it's sort of crippled in its effects in your life. They can't fuck it up. Something bigger and greater is at hand that's overriding its little master plans and designs. Yeah, this is the beautiful thing. When our faith uh, is moved from trusting finite self to the infinite, yes, the conditions of your subjective experience are going to change. You may see gratitude where you used to see lack. You may see empathy when you used to have a judgment. Yeah. These things, we are not the manufacturer of misery. We can manufacture a lot of shit. It's based on who's running the factory. Yeah. And the factory has two options, seemingly either trusting self or trusting the infinite. Either the self's running the factory, and then probably you're going to be used to manufacture misery. If it's the higher power, you're probably going to be used to manufacture service. Yes. Yeah. You're not anything that you think you are. You're something that's being used. Yeah. Yeah. We're being employed. Employed means to be used. Yeah. We had an old employer. Let's tell the truth about it. And we have a new employer. Yeah. And let's tell the truth about that. Yeah. The new employer seems to be more of our nature, which is a spiritual one. The old employer seems to be more of from the mental nature, which is foreign to us. Yes. It hatched its own little you, like a bubble. It just blew it up, and it keeps breathing air and life into it every day. And there you go. But it can be popped. Yeah. Yes. Well, so that's how I'm seeing it right now. We want to paint it in a strong contrast. You don't live like that. I don't feel. Oh, you go into like an innocent dumbness, which is really good. You just I don't want to debate or go off on anything. This is how I see it. We share it. I don't think I'm unique in seeing it this way. It's easy to see. Yeah. I figure it's easy to trigger this sense in you, and then you'll travel lighter through this event. And what better gift can one person give to another person than traveling lighter? Yeah. And then to have a community where we can travel lighter together. Hallelujah. Not bad. Yeah. I'm not in your business. I'm not. Yeah. I don't care if you watch this or put this or that on, but the traveling lighter through it. Yeah, because we do share a subjective experience. They're not all the same, but the basis of the experience is the same, which it is subjective. So the experience will not be based on the object, it'll be based on the subject that's having the experience. And that subject is going to give more meaning to the object than the object's going to give to the subject. This is called a subjective experience. People want to say that this is an objective experience, but it isn't, because you could put, if you had a heaven and you dropped an alcoholic in it, it could be hell in a day because of the subjective experience of it all. Yes, literally. So these are just basically room 101 stuff. You need to know a little bit about it. Why can there be the worst thing to happen and the best thing to happen, and you're seemingly the same thing that's happening? How could the same thing that's happening see it as the worst thing and now see it as the best thing? What the hell was it? Well, it wasn't anything really. You gave it the meaning. Yeah. All right. Well, do you trust yourself to give everything all the meaning it has? Probably not. So, can I get uh, a version of something giving everything the meaning through me? Yes. All right. Why do we call that in recovery? The higher power. Why do they call that the Course of Miracles? The Holy Spirit. Yeah. The higher power. Yeah. All right. Here you go. Yeah, I'm open for you to give my life the meaning it has, just like I was taken over and self gave my life the meaning it has. I would now like to make a decision to turn that event over to the care of a higher power and let the higher power give my life the meaning it has. Yes, it seems to have been working 37 years. Mickey more, other people less. It doesn't matter. It's the same principle. Yeah. Can't hear you, Mickey.
Mickey's not more, Mickey's less.
That's right. So this is what uh you're
But
not
it's
going to get
all
around it.
relative, isn't it?
You're not going to get around the subjective experience. You're not.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
this is where the art of living is in how you interpret things. Yeah. What does the self give you? A standardized version of everything is seen as how it pertains to self. Yeah. Now we are myopic, extreme examples of that thing gone wild. Like any life run on self-will is not going to be successful. Yes. It went wild in us. So we got extremely everything. And then we have, this always kills me. I'm a very sensitive person, but not to anyone else. I'm very sensitive how I feel, but I could give a shit how you feel. That's not sensitive. That's self-centeredness.
Self-centered, self-centered, me-centered, me-centered, my-centered, my-centered.
I'm very sensitive. Don't bother, but I bother everyone else I meet. It's funny, huh? So yes, we're just sharing where we're in. We're all in the same movement. Here we are. Some got here earlier, some were gonna come here later. What's the point of relief but to pass it on? Seriously. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm so sure about it, man. I some guy who knew me from a long time ago came over and he said, "You know why, Paul? What happened with you in the community? I can capture it by one word, self." You kept pointing out self. People didn't like that.
Self didn't like that.
Yeah, self didn't like it. Exactly. But I don't care. That's the good news. Stuck with it. Yeah.
And you know, what I find in our recovery community, those individuals who are confined are more receptive
Yes.
to this
Yes.
whole idea, to this
Yeah.
whole concept.
Yeah, because you got self-cornered in an objective reality, which it doesn't like in prison and stuff. Yes?
Exactly.
Exactly. And
Exactly.
yeah, then it really sticks out like a sore thumb. I know I did a speaking once in San Quentin, and a guy who was up there, he had killed a couple of people. He was in there for life, and that situation actually gave him an incredible curiosity about self and all this. Yes, yes, exactly. It doesn't have to be that way, but that way can sort of trigger it. Yes. Yeah, same thing with a bottom, you know. If
Oh, yeah.
you're given the gift of a bottom, it's quite demoralizing for what you're not. I mean, it when see all the times I was living on the bottom, there was something that was not in the bottom observing I was living on the bottom. The bottom is when that thing that was always seeing from outside got caught in. Yes? And that was it. There was no Paul observing that Paul was on the bottom. The subjective aspect of Paul was there. It didn't escape. It was caught. And then some real truth was laid on me. You're fucked and you're not managerial quality. And it went it went right directly to the gut, and I was convinced, basically. My head it wasn't, but I was. Yeah. 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 And then the head slowly came around through the way of life. But yes, the innermost self, which is not a self, uh, that's where it was seen that I was fucked and I'm not managerial quality. It would sound like a bad day, but it was a great day. What
You know,
a total,
and in my experience, I had to go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I
yeah,
had to lose my mind in order to be found.
yeah, yes,
And
whatever it takes, yeah. Whatever it takes. And the mercy or the compassion of our community from the beginning was to try to lift the bottom. Yes. That's one of the points of formatting it in the big book and everything was to try to lift the bottom for people so that they could come to a conclusion that wasn't so dramatically the way it was for most people in the beginning. Yeah, it's a beautiful point of compassion. Now, what's happened though, based on that? A whole other like tumor has grown, and that's the recovery world. Yes, and all the stuff. It's insane. Yeah, yes. We're trying now. A lot of times the white flag has thing, and it's just, oh, fuck it, do less harm, you know? Let's harm reduce. Let's reduce the harm. That's it. I'm not into that, no. I see it as, something, but I believe there is a solution. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't believe less harm is the solution. It could be something, but not the solution. The solution isn't just not, let the 50, dynamite explosion only seem like a 40 dynamite explosion. Yeah, I don't think, yeah,
well, it puts a band aid on the wound rather than
yeah.
heal the wound.
Yes, and you can see it, how sometimes death of this idea of you is necessary, and the system wants to keep resuscitating itself over and over again. But you come to a conclusion, the horse you've been riding is dead, and as long as you don't think you're the horse, you can get up, get off. And that's the beauty of recognizing you are not that which has defeated you. Yeah, you can
Well,
actually.
isn't that dying to self?
Yes, it's lost. Dying to self is losing interest in self. That's what it is. Yeah. This
And
is why you're
that
born. Yeah,
sometimes that dying to self has to include the body functions.
exactly. But see, the beautiful thing when you're dying to self and you're losing interest, it's the loss of interest and that interest going somewhere, which is you're being reborn. Yeah. You're being reborn in faith anew because the faith has now left self and has gone to spirit. So you are reborn in a faith anew. Yeah. Yes. That's to me is, and the death of this idea of self, there isn't a death because it was never alive. It's lived off of us, is a loss of interest in it. Yes. That it's in self-forgetting that
It's
we,
a disillusion.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And whatever it takes to arrive at that disillusionment, that's what it's going to take. Yeah.
And being a disillusion is the recognition that it was an illusion in the first place.
Well, yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, there's so there's the huge room. For some of us, there's one door, some two or three doors. And life will give you the keys that are necessary. Some have no need for a key, some need one, two, or three. But when you hear the combination and it opens, the door is now available. Like it's always been available, but there were some doors that we've made up between us and that room. Yeah. So those things are necessarily have to be opened, and there you go.
Well, the
I really felt like in my life that the statement that we were incapable of having a viable relationship with another, that really hit me. Yeah, I definitely was incapable of that when I was out there running around and when I was young as a kid because of things that happened. And it took a while in the program for that to be outgrown and changed. Yes. And so there was a number of things like that that had uh, different uh, time lives. Some took longer than others, but they all seem to have changed into what they describe in the book, you know? Yeah. So, so it's a funny thing. It's like while you're living, you're being worked on. It's beautiful. Like an operation is going on while you're doing a lot of other stuff. You're being worked on. Yeah. Because we're under this loving presence and it's expressing itself through us in our group conscience and also when we're alone and stuff like that. Yeah.
exactly.
So now instead of being under the influence of self, you're now under the influence of the higher power. But you and I are going to be under the influence of something for sure. Yeah. It's just which something is going to be the one influencing you. But you're going to be influenced. This,
And
yeah.
and Paul, isn't this the conscious connection?
Well, it's the awareness, I think, of the conscious connection. Yeah.
Okay.
All of us are in a conscious connection. Yeah. To be aware of the conscious connection, not all of us are in right now.
And that's the awakening to
Yes.
the fact that we've always been awakened, or we always are awakened.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So there's the conscious contact, which is going on, and then there becomes an awareness of the conscious contact. And because there can be a lot of conscious contact without seeming awareness. There's always awareness, but there's not an awareness of, and that condition is described in the book a lot called without knowing it. So a lot of stuff happens without us knowing it. So we're conscious of stuff, but we're not knowing a lot of things. Yeah. And so the awareness of that opens you to something else. Being conscious and being aware are different in a way. Yeah, there's a different feeling to it. Yeah, because you can't be conscious of the awareness, but the awareness is conscious of the consciousness. So I would say there's a big space in a bigger space. So let's say consciousness, but that is in a bigger space called awareness. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because all day we're in conscious contact. That's what triggers the experience. And then that triggers the interpretation, and that triggers reactions, and that triggers resentments, refeelings, and all like that. All this stuff is necessary. Now, you can be conscious of this event, but you're not aware of the sequence of it or what's going on. Yeah. Yeah. You're conscious of what's happening, but you're not aware of how it's happening. And this is what we are brought to an awakening concerning the conditions we have been in. Yeah, that we were conscious we were having conscious contact while under the influence, but that conscious contact was uh self was, yes, yeah. So self was directing that conscious contact that made us unconscious, literally. Yeah. And then we get sober, so now we become conscious again, and not the conscious again, and not doing all the shit. We may become aware, yeah, because we already are. So the next domino that the conscious contact without drunkenness and all this hits is awareness. So now you become aware of the conscious contact. So what you thought was you is another you behind or around it, yeah? And that you is always there at all times, because you can go unconscious. Yeah, they can knock you out and you're seemingly still here on the table, but you cannot be unaware. You're always aware. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's like
It's that perennial
when you're in
unknowing,
deep sleep, awareness is still there. That's what
yeah.
deep sleep is. Yeah,
That's the isness, isn't it?
the isness.
It's the
Everybody,
isness of the I amness.
yeah, the I am that I am. Yeah, but the I amness isn't the awareness in a sense. Well, we don't want to go there. It's a long thing. Uh, yeah, let's just realize we're constantly in conscious contact, but how and what's leading us, what's leading that conscious contact. If it's self, you're going to be unconscious of a lot of shit.
It's if it's self, it's all a mask. It's all a masquerade.
Oh,
That's the
well,
illusion and the uh, delusion.
yes, yes. Well, yeah, we're taking the unreal to be real
Exactly.
at the expense of the real. Because we don't make the real unreal, we just don't know it. Yeah, the real is real, but by making the unreal real, the real has to seemingly be forgotten. Yes. But it doesn't mean it's not real. It's always real. That's
Yeah,
great, the great solution. It's all readily available at all times, right where you are, with no requirement to meet it. Because
exactly.
nothing that we do or don't do changes the fact of this isness, let's say. Yeah. Yeah. It's good. It's a very reassuring, like we talk about being in good hands. It's sort of like a, a much larger than that sense of being in good hands. Yeah. Yeah. It allows you to travel lighter, literally. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because when you're not feeling like you're in good hands, that triggers wanting to manage and control, obviously. Yes?
If only I manage better.
Yes. And so, but we go back to the same thing that's producing the unmanageability to deal with that, which is much more unmanageable. Yeah. Yeah. So we find a solution outside the system that we seem to be looking out of. Yeah. That's And it's for many of us, that solution is wrapped in the name AA. You know, it's a design for living, and that's where we meet that which is already here. Yeah, we have awakening. We wake up to being awake. Yeah,
This is what has worked for in my experience.
yeah. No, that's how I'm looking at, the 38 miles, and I'm looking at it. Yeah, that's how it went, so to speak. Yeah, yeah. But when I was getting loaded, I wanted to really get out of conscious contact. It was driving me fucking crazy.
Exactly.
I wanted to fucking feel what I wanted to feel and not have to feel what life wanted me to feel. I wanted to be able to manage and control everything, and it produced like a transparent cocoon. I could see through the cocoon, but the cocoon had all the confinement of a real cocoon, though I could see through it. And I didn't know I was in it until I went to my first few meetings. That's where I felt the cocoon of terminal uniqueness. I did not feel it out there, or I did not become aware of it out there. I became aware of it in my first couple weeks of an AA meetings. I was sitting there and I could actually feel the thing I was looking through, a cocoon, like I was encased in something. Yet I could see it was like a piece of clothing and a piece of luggage, but the luggage was, you could see through it. Yeah. So I didn't know I was in a luggage. I didn't. And then it was almost like a coffin, a vertical coffin I was living in. I was seemingly standing up, so I didn't think I was dead, but basically I was dead to a lot of stuff. Yeah. And then, wow, that was a rude awakening, the terminal uniqueness. And then I started to see that what had defeated us was shared. Yeah. Your thoughts and my thoughts sure seemed to be our thoughts. They didn't seem to be much different. I didn't have a unique version of thoughts. They were just alcoholic thoughts, addictive thoughts. Yeah. And you had the same. And that commonality of the problem led me to the universality of the solution. Yeah. 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 If you think you're unique, then you think there's going to be a unique solution. That's not it. The solution isn't unique, it's obvious. It's our uniqueness to think we're going to get a special package one day is the dilemma, really. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I'm so stoked that what is it but traveling light that allows us just to fucking pontificate here? Yeah, or just run. Yeah, just there's so much permission that's given when you're freed from the bondage of self. You get a lot of permission, and your backyard gets really big. Yes. Uh,
I remember you're saying the smaller I get, the bigger my world.
oh yeah, it's huge. Remember when you had to get permission to do anything? You have to go. You'd have any idea how to run through the fucking sleeve of self, the sieve of self? I mean, it was like the thing played God all fucking day. It's unbelievable, literally. Yeah. And then people who have been under something playing God don't understand the statement playing God. You just throw a few examples out, they'll get it. Because when you wake up in the morning and something tells you how the day's going to be, that something's playing God. That's when it tells you how you were, how you are, how you're going to be, that's playing God. And it's not.
Just the thought that I woke up, or I have to consider What did I wake up or was I awakened?
Yes, yes, exactly. So this is it's when you were a kid, you did a lot of shit. Yeah. And then somebody would say what you did after you did it. There was no thoughts. Yeah. You would just do shit. And then one day, I remember it, uh, I did something, and that something was accompanied by thought. And from that day on, everything I did was accompanied by thought. Yes. And then that set up the gates, and that set up the toll booths. That sell the toll takers. That set up the narrative of the policeman, and everything had to be looked at. And then it was either a yay or a nay. And a lot of it was yays and then a big nay when I did it. And the nay would really fuck me because I thought I heard him say yay. I was misled quite a lot. Now, uh, and I listened to another broadcast, which is great.
Well, it seemed like I was always told, think about it. Just think before you do. And, and that created a whole mess.
It's so funny how sometimes you don't think before you do, but you think a whole lot after you do. There's a whole lot of thinking, like an avalanche after. I wonder
Well,
why the after wasn't given to you before.
the thinking is only the creation of the story.
That's funny. You would think if it was so wise, why did he give you the wisdom after the after than the before? Before, oh, this sounds great. After, wow, it piles on. You have to see this shit. It's like
Paul, I think it's given to you before. It's just now we're not tuned into that frequency because we're on another frequency that can't hear that message.
Right. That's right. Well, we're waiting, we can hear thoughts, and it doesn't usually give us much thoughts. Yeah. So its guidance is really to punish and and to obsess over the after. Yeah, yeah. But yes, the greatest direction usually isn't given by thought. Yes, for sure. Yes. But so many times, really. I remember I'd get pulled over, and I had a lot of warrants out for my arrest. So I'd look left and right, and I'd see this alley, and I'd run down there with absolutely no thought. And then it was an alley, a dead end alley. Then they dragged me back, and then I had a lot of thoughts about why did I run down that dead end alley, though I saw it was a dead end alley. Yes. But no thoughts from my great GPS told me anything other than go down the dead end alley. And then I get whacked, and then it had a lot of thoughts about why did you go down that dead end alley? Isn't that insane? Yeah.
Paul, Annette has her hand up.
All right.
Annette, can you come in?
Yes, I can. I just pulled over. Let's
Please
see.
don't deep dive me.
No, no, I know. Yeah, I was caught up doing things, and I meant to leave the house sooner. So anyway, this conversation is just exactly what's needed for what's landing, apparently, and what's landing is where I'm living is not safe. And I'm not to be an alarmist or anything. If anything, I've been told that I'm handling it really well, which I don't know if it's sometimes hard to discern if I'm the steps I feel like I'm taking, which are out of the box. It's not my usual way, which it's usually just to stay quiet. And I have been staying quiet all this time. I just been working to avoid and not recognize. Uh, but it seems like since I stopped working and just noticing more, I literally purchased this thing back in February 23, forgot I had it, this detector. And there's, so I used it on Sunday, and there is definitely light fixtures that have frequencies coming off them and whatever. So I made a police report. I called, private investigator if they could just confirm it. And they said it's like thousands of dollars to do a really in-depth confirmation. But from what he was an ex-policeman, and he said that it sounds like what I'm explaining is accurate. And everyone is just recommending that I leave. I've covered what I can for now, but it seems to be escalating. Because I went to the police station and, they said I have to go home to make the call. And that's what I did 2 nights ago. But thank God, like the way it timed out is that I felt like it was getting too late, but they weren't coming yet. So I was going to call them and say, don't come. And of course I would go out of the house to do that because I can't talk in my house. I felt this way for a long time. And now I just know why I felt this way. And so I was going out just to sit in my car. And then all of a sudden the car came up, the cop car. And so we were able to have a conversation in the street. I felt heard. He made a report. He said he doesn't have to tell the landlord. He was more than happy to talk to him, but I said, I really don't want to escalate this. I just want something on record if things do get escalated, because now I've covered these and now he knows, like he can't see and he knows that I know. And, his personality is a little scary, in that he seems like he has multiple like he can be super friendly, like, that you think, I don't know what, in the beginning I thought it was fine, but no. And especially so last night, there was just a lot of scary banging and stuff going on. And yeah, so not to be dramatic or anything, what I did today was I just covered up. There's one door that's shared. It's sealed off, but I went and put my dresser against it. And so I'm going to get an Airbnb. That's something I'm setting up right now. But so that's what I'm saying. What's out of the box is that's not something usually, like I don't leave jobs without another job lined up. I don't leave apartments without another like set apartment. To go to an Airbnb feels a little like I've never even stayed in one. So I'm just reading and getting as much information as I can and, trying to just do the next right thing and, turning it over as best as I can. So
Well, yeah, and just to have someone you work with to talk about this stuff. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. I went to a meeting yesterday. There was a nurse who, like, there's so many commonalities. She heard me and we talked after, and so
Well,
I'm reminded I'm not alone. I'm not
yeah,
never alone.
clear up and stuff, and yeah, and if you want, do a little inventory
Yes,
on you have a fear about, and it's affecting obviously emotional and material security, which would be having a safe place. Yeah, and so just
yeah,
do AA thing and
right,
here, and we'll get to the underlying causes and conditions. But
right.
for the surface expressions of stuff, work with somebody, and somebody, and talk them up, talk about this stuff with those people and get some guidance. A lot of people have gone
Yeah,
through everything we could possibly go through, and
right.
yeah, yeah, and but I would do an inventory on the fears and stuff like that, then share it with somebody because it always produces an answer that's not yours, which is great. And yeah, just do it simple, 4 column, very quickly. I'm afraid something's happening at my house. What does it affect, and what's my role in it and stuff? Yeah, and
Mm,
maybe you'll get some guidance that way.
yeah.
And this is how you face life successfully. In my case, instead of waiting for the staircase to appear, I stepped out and then it would appear. Yeah. So I had
That's what it seems to be, but I don't always. The new staircases look different than you know what I mean.
yes,
It
but
just
that
yeah,
doesn't matter. You feel take It doesn't matter if you do or don't, but if you do,
Uh-huh.
just go with it. Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
had a simple thing. I'm going to use you as your thing as another example. It was simple. It was early on, and I read the book, big book, yeah. And some of these things, when I read, they triggered some feeling because they were talking about strategies I had lived under, and that had been that these templates had been uh, put on my life. Yeah, and one of them was you make uh, there's going to be a decision made in from fear or self that's going to set off trains of circumstances that bring you misfortune that you feel you don't deserve. Okay, so here I was. I had a nice apartment my first year, my second year. Had a nice apartment. I was on the title in the Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco. And my first roommate was moving out. And I thought I shouldn't have any problem renting the room. But it wasn't getting rented, yes? And I was afraid that I wouldn't have enough money to pay for the rent, though I probably could have, but I was afraid of that, yeah, by myself and stuff like that. So there was a guy I had met, his name was Paul, and he was coming out of a program, yeah. And I had a feeling about it, but I just forgot that, and I rented in the room, yeah. But I knew better, but I overrode that and I rented a room. And so the first while it was working and it took away that fear of overwhelmed by the whole rent and stuff. But then stuff started to happen. And then he had met a woman at the rehab and they had both left. And then this woman, he had no phone, started calling through my phone like at 1 in the morning or whatever. And she was loaded and I was getting involved in this thing. And I went into his room and there was all these little vodka bottles. And I realized he's getting loaded and da da da. So, and it led to a point where he called me up and he was in this house in East Bay, Oakland, and he wanted me to help him. Now, I didn't go with another person, which I learned I should have too. And I drove there, and the front door was open, and if I could hear them in the back, it sounded like banshees in hell. It was very strange, and I didn't want to go in, so I yelled his name, and he came out. And then I looked; he only had one shoe, and I wasn't going to go in there, and I sent him back in, and he came out, and I took him to a detox, and I dropped him off, and then I never saw from him again. Yeah, so I had made a decision based on self that put me in that position. Yeah, to be hurt. I knew better, but I overrode it out of fear, and I took the situation, had him move in. Yeah, it was textbook description in the big book, textbook, and I saw it. It was finally highlighted. I mean, it was like neon illuminated. And the sad thing about it, I never saw that guy again. And a couple of months later, a woman called me and she was looking for this guy, Paul. And I said, no, no, this is where he used to live, but I haven't seen him in a while. And she said, I just wanted to tell him that Kathy, the girl that he was seeing, died. She had overdosed. Yeah. So all this stuff came, it was just such a, but I got the fucking example. I got it. I not only had a memory of it, I saw that I had made a decision, or there was a decision made based on self that had me get this guy in to pay the rent. Yeah, that set off all these trains of circumstance, getting constant calls at 4 in the morning from the other lady. Yes, yeah, this is the beauty. When you match the life with the description, there's some fucking incredible revelation there. Yeah. So I think that's on the case for you, honey, in a way. And so have someone to go along with you in this, and things that you may not see, they'll see, and they can point it out to you. Yeah. And then you can recognize that stuff and bring it to step 6 and 7 and have the energy of it retrieved and have it reconfigured so that it works fucking better. Yeah. I mean, I had to go through a complete overhaul because all my strategies were brought to light, not mine, but the strategies of the head were brought to light from my sober experience. And I had to come to terms with it, and it was wonderful. Yeah. Because one of the things I learned is to ask a simple question where you are. What is it you know that you don't want to know? Yeah. So let's say I meet a girl, she looks really beautiful, but she's crazy. Yeah. I want to go horizontal with her, so I don't want to know that she's crazy, but I do know that. So yeah, and then I go against that knowing it, and then the shit hits the fan. So I learned that the hard way. What is it I know? Wait a minute, because you do know a lot of stuff you're trying to talk to someone else about, you really know. You just don't want to know it because I may not get a place. Yes. So it's a lot of fear-based shit. But I would recommend getting into the habit every once in a while, stopping and ask yourself, what is it I know that I don't want to know right now? Yeah. Instead
I
of
think
having
I did that. I think that's why I did the thing, that device. I
yeah,
remember
good.
being like, I think now you reminded me because it was sort of, I didn't really it wasn't like a, my usual type of, it's on my list. Let me think of what I know that I don't, I think I was doing dishes and I was like, what do I just came to me, like you said that.
Great.
And yeah, that
Well,
led to using that.
that's gonna be the wisdom before thought that I think Rico was talking about a little bit.
Mm,
You get
yes.
familiar with it. The thing
Yeah.
is, it's always readily available. It's on our side. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is where you have to honor the demonstrations of when this program works because the head wants to forget it and keep its old story about nothing works. Yeah. You have to point it out. It's just
Yeah.
like with my dog. If the dog does something, I can't point it out an hour or two later. I've got to catch it when she has the thing, and then I get the thing, I show her the thing. I said, no bueno, and she saw it, she gets it. If you get it hours, 2 hours later, it doesn't happen. Yeah. So in the same way, I'm an old dog, but I can learn new tricks. So they need to be pointed out, and then, yeah, yeah, yeah. So honor the demonstrations of when this process works because it will really bring into stark contrast the unworkability of the failed system. Yeah. All right. So we got to end, eh? We got to thank you, Annette. Yes. And good luck with
Thank
that.
you.
Hopefully, you have a couple of strong women talk with them. Michael Stacy, as always, a pleasure. Oh, yeah. And we'll be back at 4:30 Pacific time right here. We won't be
And
back, never leave. Really.
and a reminder,
Yes.
we are on daylight savings time now.
Yes.
So our time may be different from those who are not on, have not changed the clocks yet or don't change the clock.
This is why I'm an hour late, Mickey.
I figured it.
Well, we jump an hour. Yeah, we jumped an hour. So
Ditto.
3:30 turned into 4:30.
I
But it
recognize
feels like 3:30.
I recognize when so many people wanted to come in at 11:30.
Yeah. This happens every year. Yes. Yeah. Isn't that funny? It feels like 3:30. Has there ever been a 3:30? It's either lighter or darker, but it's funny. There's so much shit made up. It's crazy. All right, Kathy from Cleveland. Nice to see you, Kathy, as always. Alex, I don't know if I met you before, but I think I have. Nice to see you. Rico Cruz, a man of his word. Tom Tacoma, always happy to see Tom. Lebowski, yes. Brian C. Roman Mueller, my man in Germany. Matthew in the UK. Nice to see you, Matthew. Ricus, or Rickus. Chris Snap down in Lexington. Joseph C. Diane, Annette, Oliver, Dennis, and all the new people who just came in. It's like when you always come in at the meeting and then they're doing the serenity prayer and then everyone walks up out. Oops. All right. Well, I'll see you later, some of you. Thank you. And we're going to be back in New Jersey in late April and down in the Jersey Shore doing recovery stuff for some groups there. So if you're around there, it would be cool. You can go. My number is on the website, I think. So we'll be there. I think starts 17th I get there. So that first weekend of Easter we're going to be doing stuff. And then the second weekend after that, the one after Easter, we're going to be doing stuff. It's on the website. So yep. I'll see. I think I made it more confusing, but just go to the website. It's there on the event page. All right. Hey, I'll see you guys later, I hope. And thank you so much. Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Paul.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank
Again,
you,
everyone,
Paul.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Mickey.
Paul.
I have to say goodbye to everyone I can. I didn't get Tom. I didn't get Oliver. Annette, I did. Joseph and France. Nice to see you, Joseph. If I missed anyone, I apologize, but hello and goodbye. See you soon.
See you guys later today.
Yeah,
Thank you,
great.
Thanks,
Paul.
man.
Thank you, Mickey.